Hello guys, I'm Ryan Wright.
Hey guys, I'm Andrew.
Andrew and I today we're going to have a little spoiler discussion, spoiler talk. I don't want to entitle this review because I really just want to have a talk about it, Like, I don't want to write down all these fucking notes because we're going to be doing a film analysis of it on his channel, Movie Source. But people have been asking me to already cover some spoilers of the film, so here we are today. And I gotta say, from beginning to end, this is one of the most exciting comic book movies I've ever seen. Just from the opening credits. I remember you told me that you know someone who caught a pre-screening and said that the opening credits is the funniest opening credits you'll ever see. And from that very first one, it was from the opening credits, you're like, this is a different movie. This is a very self-aware film right here.
Yeah.
Super meta, yeah.
I mean, no, I agree. And also, too, if you notice, they didn't put anybody's real name in there. It was like directed by an overpaid tool, starring some idiot, also starring comic relief.
Yeah.
Also
a moody teen.
Also starring a British villain.
Yeah.
Just so much greater than, and also it let us know, this is, like you said, a different kind of superhero film, just a different kind of film in general. And I just love so much of the self-awareness. I can't believe that 20th Century Fox let them get away with it. And also just, they were making fun of themselves all throughout the film. I thought that was just so unique.
In some ways, in some weird ways, I was like, this is the closest live action Family Guy adaptation we could get. In terms of the breakaways, the cutaways to breaking the fourth wall and talking to the audience and telling them stuff. It was very, very, very amusing the whole time. And just the opening sequence when he's riding in the cab, and it takes in such a different approach to an origin movie,
Yeah.
I love how it would cut back and forth.
Yes,
how
very well done.
It was because I thought about it, and if they had started directly from the beginning and told this in linear timeline, the tone would not have been established well. It wouldn't have been felt. So when Deadpool becomes crazy, wacky, breaking the fourth wall Deadpool, because I noticed he doesn't do that. He only has one line where he does that. But he only has he has one or two moments where he does that. When he holds up the toy of the, when Deadpool got his mouth sewn.
Yeah, from X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah,
right.
So when he holds up the toy, and the other one is when he's saying, don't make the suit green.
Or animated.
Right. And so in that moment right there, because I noticed when it cuts to the past, they don't really do the wacky stuff so much. But what made it work is they kept Ryan Reynolds' sense of humor throughout. They never lost Wade Wilson's personality. So even though it wasn't as wacky and goofy, they never lost the personality.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, it's not again, the only thing that changed him, obviously his face got messed up with, because he took a form of cancer on his face, and now he's able to regenerate himself. But his personality has not changed. He's got the same sense of humor before he gets the mask and the superpowers and all that. He's the same guy. Nothing has changed other than regeneration, and he looks like Freddy Krueger with a topical map of Utah on his face. Right? Or is that what Weasel said, right?
Yeah, Weasel said
that. And I gotta tell you, the relationships in this movie, or the chemistry between all the actors, I can't think of really a weak performance. I didn't like the banter between those two. Weasel and Deadpool, fantastic. Francis and Deadpool, great. I really thought he was a true menacing villain for what, this called for. And I love that this film was a revenge story. It's not like every other comic book film where it's the end of the world and, we've got to unite as a team, which they even mentioned in the film. It's
we're just making fun of what you get when you're a superhero.
Yeah, you get contract lucrative deals, you get a franchise movie, you get a team-forming movie. So, yeah, they were making just fun of the superhero genre in general. I thought it was just so clever.
I think what really made this movie cool was it was a revenge story, yes, but this movie tells you at the very beginning about the theme of the film, which is really love. And that is the last thing you'd expect when you go to watch a Deadpool movie, and from everything that you're going to walk away with a great love story. Because by the end, I love that moment when she kisses him.
Yes.
Because I'm like, oh, because when I'm looking at him, I'm like, oh, he looks so repulsive, there's no way she's going to want to be with him. But she really just sees who he is on the inside. She wanted him to survive. She wanted him to live, so he is living. And even though it's fucked so much with the way he looks, she still loves him for who he is on the inside. And I love that. It was so fucking sweet. It was like sweet, and I smiled when they were like when they actually kissed, like because the way they wrote Vanessa was so fucking good. It was like listening to a real woman talk with a sense of humor.
Yeah.
You know, like cracking all these kinds of dark jokes
that
and
was
stuff.
amazing.
And she's beyond just sarcastic. She was a full 3-dimensional character who you could tell had a heart. It was sexy and was sweet at the same time. Like when she's telling him at the end, maybe with a few drinks.
Oh,
that's a face
That's a
I'd like
face
to I could sit on.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's great.
so funny.
And I'm like, what other female character in a comic book movie, a Marvel movie too, is gonna say that?
Yeah, I think I even heard someone in the crowd when she said, like, I want her so bad. Like, I mean, I was thinking that throughout the film, but just in general, no, you nailed it. I mean, the whole film could have really fallen apart if the chemistry between those two actors didn't work. And kudos to Ryan Reynolds and Morena Baccarin from Gotham. She's also the voice of Gideon on Flash season 1. Their chemistry is phenomenal, and you buy it from the opening scene when they're going back and forth between the jokes. Like, I'm like, they are perfect for each other.
Yeah.
And then the scene where they're having sex throughout the seasons, happy Thanksgiving, happy Chinese New Year, and then the scene where she's has
Using
him
the
backwards, strap on him. He's like, no. Oh my god.
Because
they're perfect for each
it was
other.
a wonderful montage. Like this
I loved
this
it.
movie is so clever in a way where when you first, because I saw it twice, and the first time you watch it, I don't think you're gonna catch on as well as how clever this is.
Absolutely.
Because when you rewatch it, you're like, wow, this is why everything works. You know, because going back to the love story, yes, watching it, I was like, damn. I'm so invested in this, even the second time I'm watching it, and this is why I give a shit so fucking much, you know? Like, of course, everything's great about it that we expected. The comedy's fantastic. The breaking the fourth wall is great. Ryan Reynolds rocks. The action's really fucking cool. But the core of this film is a love story, and I like how the film wasn't shy to make it about that.
They weren't shy about anything.
No, they really weren't.
Yeah.
And they pushed the boundaries a lot. Like, even with the violence, when he cuts off his own arm and he gets shot in the asshole, you know?
Right up Main Street.
Right up Main Street,
Yeah, that's so funny. No, you said it perfectly. And also, too, I felt like she wasn't a damsel in distress. She was a smart character. Like, even, at the end where they're on a by the way, the second time I noticed, they're on a hell carrier from the Avengers series. And
they are?
Yeah, that's a hell carrier from the
I
Captain
didn't
America
realize.
the Winter Soldier and the Avengers films, one of those hell carriers. Check it out next time you watch it, but it's for sure one of those. Anyways, the point being, she's like strapped in that machine that's, sucks away your oxygen, and, Wade throws the sword in the thing, and then, she has to, she cuts herself out, and then, like, to get out, she, like, cuts herself, basically, and then she stabs Francis, and she saves him. She easily could have stood off to the side and been like, no, you go save the day. So they gave her a purpose, and also, again, you were so invested that you just wanted Wade to do anything possible to save this woman, and then when she just accepts him at the end, you're like, I love these two. I want them to be together so bad. It's like perfect.
Absolutely. The chemistry is so undeniable.
It's fantastic between
And
those
I'm
two.
surprised they didn't make any like DC jokes about the fact that she was in it, you know? Because like with her being on Gotham and Flash, you're like, I would expect like at least one DC joke, but I don't know if they wanted to start trouble or
Right.
not.
Well, not with her, they didn't, but there was a Batman and Robin, and obviously all the Green Lantern ones where he's talking to Blind Out, and he's like, she's just like Robin, except she's black, she's blind, and she loves me. But I think Robin loved Batman also. So that was cool, a little mention right there. But yeah, no, I agree. The chemistry between them was like, I can't think of too much better chemistry I've seen in a comic book film. I think, Pepper and Tony Stark, that's great chemistry. Gwen Stacy and Andrew Garfield,
but
that's pretty good. But
what's cool about this is they made it an R-rated film, but they did in PG-13 the romance. They start off just purely in lust with each other,
Yes.
Then it grows to love, and I'm like, That's real life right
real,
there. That is
exactly.
fucking real life,
Exactly.
you know?
Yep.
You start fucking, you get so horny for each other, you're so attracted, and then you fall in love. And in these PG-13 movies, they haven't even had sex yet, and they're
so
like, I'm in
forced.
love with you.
Yeah,
know?
it feels so forced, and this just felt so natural. It was not forced in any way. I agree with you. Absolutely.
And I didn't talk about this in my non-spoiler review, but Colossus.
Yes.
I watched X-Men 2 and 3 before watching Deadpool again. I watched X-Men 1 to 3 and Origins just because I was trying to get the Deadpool vibe going in me, like wanting to see the reboot.
I remember that movie.
But I watched that, and Colossus is not really a character in 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And he's American.
Right.
And I like how they cracked that joke about the X-Men timeline not making much sense.
McAvoy or Stewart.
Yeah.
I get confused between the timelines.
Because everyone knows the continuity within timelines of the X-Men world is like so confusing.
Oh, it is.
So when Colossus shows up, I'm like, okay, he's apparently Russian.
Yeah.
In X-Men 2 and 3, he's not Russian. But I really liked what they did with him. It was like, that's an odd choice to have. What's the girl's name?
Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
It was an odd choice to see, like, okay, they got Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Wasn't it Ripley from Aliens 3?
Yeah.
Right? Or Sinead O'Connor?
It's actually Alien 3.
Sorry, Alien 3. My fault.
So we got the teenager, and then we got Colossus, and it's like, those are two interesting characters to choose, but it works, and it felt more like a comic book because of the fact that they actually used the setting of the mansion. They had Colossus, and they had these two characters, and it does feel like that when you're reading a comic, and then, these people from the other part of the universe are appearing. And it wasn't like, here's a fun cameo. It's like, let's make them actual characters, and let's take X-Men characters that weren't really focused on and one that hasn't been introduced, and they made him shine. Like they shined.
I love watching
Colossus has never been better in cinema, and he had personality. You really got his character, that he was like all about being a hero. So even when Deadpool shoots Francis in the end, and then you see Colossus puke, that right there, I'm like, there's so much more personality to Colossus than ever before. Thank God they chose them, and it was not the typical approach you would hope for. Like, I don't think anyone heard about Deadpool and they're like, I hope Colossus and what's her name?
Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Negasonic Teenage Warhead is in it. Like, no one was thinking that, but two wonderful choices made it really feel more like a comic book.
Absolutely too, and also when we showed when they were showing Colossus and he started throwing up after Deadpool killed him, I love how they're showing he's from a PG-13 universe. He's not used to seeing guys' brains being splattered and all that graphic violence. He's used to, he's part of the X-Men. They don't kill guys like that in vain. So I thought that was really, really clever, showing that he's not used to this. And then Negasonic Teenage Warhead, or Ellen Ripley from Alien 3, as Deadpool liked to call her, I thought she was so unique. She wasn't the moody teen as they put it in the title, in the original titles of the film, the opening credits. She was just a really unique character. The banter between her and Deadpool was awesome. And like where he called her Ripley, she was like, fuck, you're old. And like, just a lot of great lines like that. And her powers were awesome. When I was watching her in action, I was like, she's a badass. I love watching her. And I love, too, how in the film they make reference of why there's no other X-Men in the film. Deadpool, rather, is like, boy, it's a wonder why there aren't any more X-Men in this mansion. I guess the studio couldn't afford more characters.
Yeah.
I just thought that was unique. And, too, dude, I gotta mention, Hugh Jackman is a trooper. To let him make this much fun of him with the stuff on the face. And also, if you notice, too, when he rips off the mask and where Vanessa really like just accepts him for who he is, just one of the greatest moments in the film. He's got a Hugh Jackman picture stapled from head to chin, stapled on his face. From the front view, it looks like it's Hugh Jackman, obviously, with the mask. But then from the back view with the camera, it looks like it's Iron Man's mask almost. Yeah. So I thought that was an interesting looking shot right there. But just again, there were just so many great moments in the film, and the chemistry and the relationships between all the characters. You just bought it. It was really good, well done.
True. Yeah, I mean, going back to what you were saying, I love the point about how, because in the opening credits, they list all these cliches. They list all these cliches, yet you watch the movie and I'm like, these characters are unique though. They're
Oh,
not
yeah.
just cliches. Like, they're the cliche, but layered and added onto and developed. So it's way more than just that. Like Francis, for example, was a really well-written villain.
Mm-hmm.
At first they show him, and when they introduce him, it was interesting because he gets stabbed, so you think this guy's gonna die.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. He doesn't even look like he's in pain, you know?
Yeah.
And he escapes, and I was like, why? Because I was thinking, like, why is Deadpool hunting a guy that's taken him, like, over a year to find? And when they show him, you see he's also very intellectual. He's beyond having super strength and not able to feel pain. He's very intellectual. He's a scientist. So seeing that was really fucking cool, because it wasn't like, oh, he gets his powers at the end and fights Deadpool, you
Yeah,
know?
well
It's like
said.
it starts off and
Well
he's
said.
already got the mutant gene in him and whatever the fuck they put in him.
Right. No, you just basically said a cliche for most superhero films where they get the power at the end and then fight him. But no, I agree with you. And also, he was really menacing. Like when he's putting Ryan or Wade Wilson in the oxygen tube, and I felt so claustrophobic in that moment. And also, it made me think of that film with Ryan Reynolds, Buried. Like it really made me feel like I felt like you could feel the struggle between the two characters, and I thought he played it off. I think he's also in Transporter, right? That actor. I think he's the new
so.
Transporter. But like you said, he just did an amazing job of making you feel terrified for Wade Wilson. Like even though you know Wade Wilson's got regeneration powers, like this guy's not afraid to hurt him from the moment he says, "What's my name?"
Yeah.
Like he's menacing. He sells it. Like that could have been so funny when he's like, "What's my name?" You know?
It could have been a cheesy, typical British villain.
Yeah,
But there was
absolutely.
depth
He
brought
sold
to
it.
it. And you know what? Gina Carano, people are probably going to be like, well, she doesn't, she has like two
She has
lines?
2 lines in the whole film.
Still though,
She did
still
have
for
purpose.
that cliche bodyguard,
Yeah.
I thought I was still interested when she was on screen. I was
Absolutely.
still like, she has an intensity about her. She is pretty to look at, but you could tell she's fucking tough as hell,
yeah.
you know? And so she is intimidating at the same time. And her and Colossus fighting was a great fight.
Oh, it's great.
So I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool seeing her in it. Some people were like, oh, she's a shitty actress. Then I watch it and I'm like, you know what? It was good that she was in it. I could see why they cast her.
Yeah, no, they had to make it a little believable. Even though the woman has superpowers, they had to make it a little believable that a woman's gonna punch Colossus, it's 80 to 100 feet
so
away.
they got
And
a real fighter.
Yeah, they got a real MMA fighter. Makes total sense. And yes, they gave her 2 lines, and clearly they shot a little bit around her, but it didn't bother me. Like that action scene alone and her superhero landing, where Wade's like, watch superhero landing, here it comes. Oh boy, that's hard on the knees.
Yeah.
It's just so well done. And again, that action sequence was incredible. I thought how they started the movie with that amazing action. I think it was the test footage, right, from a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting to start it off that just going a full 120 right there in terms of miles per hour. And then the way they just did the linear shooting of going back with the storytelling, I thought it was just really well done.
Totally. Last few things I want to mention. Al, the black blind lady. That was a character that when I saw the trailer, I was worried about. Is she going to be the one that annoys me? Is she going to be the one that's like, oh, the old lady who's over the top and so hidden in personality? Yeah, you watch her and you're like, you know what? Her personality fits with Deadpool perfectly. Wade Wilson and her, perfect together. She's
agree.
blind, so she never judges the way he looks. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and I could see there's way more than that. Way more. Like there's that one scene where he's leaning his head on her, and then he starts using the little hand thing to touch her. Ugh. And so yeah, that's right. It'll make it look bigger. Like seeing that, I was like, even she was written perfectly.
Oh yeah,
she had the right level, and everything about her was used just well. Stan Lee's cameo.
Oh
though.
my god.
I remember you saying that was your favorite Stan Lee cameo.
is.
It's mine too. Just because of how bold it is and how far it was willing to go with it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you can see like Stan Lee's in the same shot where there are some tits. Those are tits.
And Stan Lee.
And there's Stan Lee, you know?
Right.
And here he is making the announcement about the strippers, like having a blast.
Yeah. No, I agree.
That was a great Stan Lee cameo.
Yeah, and I think you also mentioned earlier when we were talking, you said it perfectly. He's the Hugh Hefner of the Marvel comic book universe, so it only makes sense.
And Iron Man pokes fun at that.
Yeah, and also Iron Man did make fun of that in that and the Stan Lee cameo in that film, but it makes just perfect sense to see him in that kind of a cameo role. And
yeah.
by far the most entertaining. And also really quickly, just getting back to Al, from the moment she said to him, "Get a red shirt, you idiot." Like, I was just sold on the character right there from that first line of dialogue. I'm like, they're perfect. Just the banter between them. And you said it perfectly. They could have overdone her character and just too much banter and going back and forth. They did it to the perfect amount of time, and it was just enough to where you're like, I want a little more, and not enough to where you're like, nah, it's too much, you know? So I thought they did the perfect amount of banter between those two characters.
She's a human being. She's
Absolutely.
not like just a woman who complains. Like, when he goes to her home, first thing you see her doing in the home is she's building something, you know?
IKEA.
Yeah, she's blind and she's trying to build something.
I love that conversation.
And that says so much about her character. That's
Right.
that's what I mean. You don't realize just how great the details of this movie are until like the second time you watch it.
Yeah.
Because it's so engrossing. Then when you're able to really observe it, it's like, wow, these writers were clever. And then they credit themselves in the opening too with the credits.
Yeah,
as
for
like,
sure.
As like something about like how they're the perfect. They're the ones.
The
who really
perfect couple or something.
Yeah,
I forgot
I know.
what it was, but something like that. And also too, like for me personally, my favorite line in the whole film was like when Weasel was saying to Dave, was like, I'd love to help you, but I don't want to go."
Yeah.
It was so funny. And then he says to Al right after Deadpool leaves, he's like, "Want to get fucked up?" I thought the way T.J. Miller was used in this film, again, same thing with Al. They used him just the perfect amount of time to where you bought their relationship. You felt like he was a good friend, even though he did bet on Wade to die in the Deadpool. I thought that was also very clever how they came up with his name, because so many films, and they made fun of it too. They're like, Captain Deadpool. No, just Deadpool. Yeah. So brilliant. There's just, like you said, the detail. You gotta watch this movie more than once. Like, if you see it once and you're not crazy about it, you know what I mean? Give it another chance. But if you love this film, see it multiple times, because the repeat value in this film is incredible. And also there's so many Easter eggs and other things you get to pick up on. Like, I think you had mentioned earlier when they're making fun of the Liam Neeson when he was up at night, and she's like, what's wrong? He's like, "Oh, I was just thinking about Liam Neeson and Taken." You know, at some point you gotta wonder, is he a bad parent? Like,
Yeah.
There's just so many unique self-referential things in this world, and I want more Deadpool movies now. And
Yeah, and what I wanted to say was that it's a complete film.
Yes.
It's a complete film. It tells a whole story. I love that it's not a film that ends in a way where I'm like, well, fuck, if I have to finish the story, I have to watch the sequel now. No. This could technically be the end.
That's it.
It technically could just be, here's the one movie about Deadpool,
Right.
Here's the main story about him, there you go. That's cool. I love that there's a part 2 coming out where I'm like, I want to see it so bad. Not because I have to, but because I really want to.
Well said.
You know? And the last thing, the post-credits thing. I love how what we always expect is for the character to show up and see like, oh, who are they going to be in the sequel? In this one, they were just like, Cable's supposed to be in it.
That's so unique.
Just like totally mocking whatever the fuck they're supposed to do.
So unique.
Cable's gonna be in it, and I don't know much about Cable. I remember him in the cartoon. I want to do more research on him because I'm super stoked that they're gonna make a part 2.
Right. No, I agree with you. I'm going to definitely do a little more research on the character, too. I know he's from the future, as they alluded to in the after credits sting. And also, too, for me personally, the two actors who I'd like to see them consider, but obviously I trust whoever they pick, Stephen Lang or Liam Neeson, I think would be kick-ass choices for that role. And again, like I said, I just felt like this universe works. And also, I feel like they infused the X-Men even so well. Like, I can see more films, like even with X-Men coming in it, you know, where Deadpool then, like an X-Force film you could have where he even joins the X-Men in a film. Obviously I don't see him as an X-Men. He just does not fit with what they do. But I can see them in a film for a cause, you know, working together for some reason. Like you saw at the end of this film where, you know, he gave them a proposition of helping them. And it was so seamless and it worked. It wasn't forced. It felt natural, even with all the self-references and, you know, all the jokey humor. It felt real, and you felt like these universes absolutely can coexist together.
I feel like if we were to talk about the MCU and Fox and the possibility of them working together, I feel like Deadpool could be the link. Because Deadpool is so about making everything meta, breaking the fourth wall, making an out-of-the-world experience that I feel like he would be the character that could somehow be in the world that is able to make the X-Men and the Avengers world link together
Right.
in some way. Because I feel like that could be and same thing with like the Marvel TV shows like Punisher and Daredevil,
Love
like
those.
Jessica Jones, having all these characters come together. And like there's even a comic of Deadpool kills the Marvel universe.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
so,
right. I remember. I heard about that.
So like I feel like Deadpool could be the thing that really brings the Marvel universe into full circle in some way.
That's an interesting theory. Also, too, in the movie, they at the post-credit stinger, he actually said, "What? Do you expect Samuel L. Jackson from with an eye patch? No, we don't have that kind of money."
Yeah.
So technically, it made a reference to an MCU moment. So technically, they can say that right there. But it's an interesting theory. If they end up doing that, that's great. I wouldn't mind that. I do, obviously, at this point in time, I personally think that the MCU has enough characters. But I don't care whatever I see Deadpool at this point. Put Deadpool in a movie now, and also Morena Bacca's character, Vanessa. I'm in.
This was one of the best. You know what made this film great too? It was a passion project as well.
Oh yeah,
Beyond
for sure.
beyond a marketing choice and
Amazing
this could make a
marketing.
lot of money. It was a passion project
Yes.
for people involved, especially Ryan Reynolds.
Oh my God.
He has been pushing for this for years.
Right.
So you could feel that passion and love behind the camera. So to me, it's one of the best comic book movies of all time.
I agree.
Rarely do you see a film where you're like, yeah, these guys love Deadpool, So yeah, everyone should watch it.
Absolutely.
Like my girlfriend doesn't like movies like this. And I can't think of another movie like this, but violence and shit and
Right.
dickhead lead characters, and she ended up loving it. Like
Right.
it's that good of a film that you're like, yeah, it's great. Anyway, guys, long ass spoiler talk. If you're new to the channel, you can subscribe today, become a reject. It'll be worth some of your time. Andrew has a channel called Movie Source. Check it out. Link in description box. There's also an annotation here for you to click it. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Vine. Follow Andrew on Twitter. Do you use anything else, really?
Not really.
Follow Andrew Agor711 on Twitter. And I know I didn't really crack many jokes in this review. I don't think I cracked any.
Yeah, I feel like you're jokeless right now.
I've been kind of jokeless today.
Well, I felt like we let most of the jokes out when we were talking about Deadpool, right?
It's hard to be funny when you're reviewing something funny.
I agree, because it's hard competition, that movie.
Oh, yeah. I'd totally fuck Ryan Reynolds. That's not a joke.
That's a face I think you could sit on top of, for sure.
I'd let him shit on me.
Yeah, I heard he's quite a shitter.